So one interesting thing I was thinking about. So 3 months into pandemic, the world is panicking. We're still figuring out what's going on, and we used to talk to leaders, business leaders, HR leaders, on what is their focus or what they are thinking at that particular point in their lives. And we used to sort of get this two very interesting observations. So one bucket used to say, hey, performance, I want to bring people back as soon as possible, so we don't miss out on our performance and whatever, right? And then the next bucket used to say purpose. When my team is, so I look at sort of my company as a team sport. So whenever we are all together fighting this good fight, we all have a common purpose. But now at our home, we are vulnerable. We're vulnerable to losing that purpose. We're vulnerable to a lot of other attacks that could happen emotionally, psychologically, and through whatever ways. And I want to get them people back on the track. So um, and I think when I used to hear that, I used to think that absolutely correct. Like every corporate sport is like a team sport. You are here for a very distinct purpose, and you want a razor focused, passionate interest in delivering on it. When you look at say leaders today, having gone through this now 2 years passing, struggle of getting people back on track, back on performance, and we have seen lot of emotional battles that we as a society fighting over last 2 years. If a leader is watching this show, like what do you want, what would you tell them?
So I think, looking at it in hindsight, what it required from leaders is this great deal of patience, and it required a great deal of listening skills, and it took a great deal of being able to take in what was being communicated and find a balance. Because to your point, not everyone had the same opinion, the same thought, the same personal and emotional experience related to the pandemic. So I know that there are potential leaders who were mindset on we need to get people back in the office as soon as we possibly can, or we're going to suffer significantly as a corporation. And with that kind of mindset, it was causing some frictions. It was causing division. It was causing employees to be concerned with the fact that all they care about is profits and not who we are as human beings and how safe we potentially are or are not related to coming back into the workforce. So I think that this idea of, as a leader, possessing the ability to able to emotionally keep stable and keep balance around a very difficult situation, and looking at your corporation and how it operates and what are the things that will allow us to continue to be successful in a remote type of environment is the things that we need to begin to look at and see how we can adjust and accommodate those people. And so I would again say patience, listening, being able to adjust, making sure that your people know that you are and only focused on their best interest, and taking actions that reflect that that truly is what this corporation is about, and that is our commitment to our people, and that in return the employees will feel as though they are being looked at as human beings, that they are being looked at as they're the most important thing, not the corporate profit. And as a result of that, are going to be more loyal potentially. They're going to want to potentially give more back because they receive that kind of compassion and empathy from the leaders, and it requires that. I will tell you that fear is a significant challenge for the leaders because fear drives emotional decisions that always aren't the best interest in the long term. And that, as a leader, is something that I think we all had to be very careful of when we were looking at how the performance looked from one month to the next. You can imagine leaders who saw corporate profits being drained to the point that they were faced with tough decisions. Do we have to actually close up and call it a day? And many of them were faced with that kind of decision, that they really had to accept the fact that something that was out of their control, something that they put their blood, sweat, and tears toward, and many of the employees did, that because of this pandemic, were going to, lose their livelihood. They were going to lose their career. They were going to lose their business. I've always learned as a leader that during those difficult times, it's not easy, but there always is a choice. And what I try to reinforce to our people is this idea of embracing failure, embracing adversity, and embracing the struggle with the statement of, okay, what's next? I'm going to try this and it may not pan out. Okay, then what's next? Okay, then what's next? I think that when we look back at all this as leaders, as fearful as it was to lose the things that we loved so very much, those leaders that are connected to that idea of what's next and anything's possible and opportunities always present themselves, that these, and this is the fabric you want to embed in your employees, that this, we have a choice. We have a fork in the road. We can be doomsday. We can be, really just in this funk or even be a victim of our circumstance. Or we can look at it and say, what's the possibilities? What are the opportunities? What's next? And then we find ourselves maybe in a whole different career. Maybe we find ourselves in a better way of running our business when we start it up again. Maybe there's other opportunities that come my way that I never envisioned would ever happen to me. And I think if you stay in that kind of energy and you stay in that kind of leadership mode, because you're going to have people who culturally, because of who we've become, it's so easy to tap into the negative. It's so easy to tap into the failure. It's so easy to tell a story of the what ifs of doomsday, that as leaders, we have to continue no matter how hard it is. This is the other thing I've learned as a leader. You always have to search for what might shift the energy. Even if you tried 1,000 things, what's the 1,001 next thing that I need to search and look for and observe about that could shift our experience and shift our energy? And so I think the leaders that were able to tap into those things during that time are the ones that were the most successful. And some of it, and it breaks my heart, it really does, some of it was totally out of our control as leaders in helping our business survive. It was inevitable that it was going to fail, and that's a very challenging thing. And now we have to look at, to your point, it created a whole different challenge and dynamic about how employees want to participate in work. It gave them this flexibility to maybe start having some of the power shift their way as far as how they would like to see the work environment look, and how the most talented people were willing to stay on if I'm able to be in this hybrid, remote, virtual type of environment. And we also, as leaders, I know I'm saying a lot here, but we also as leaders need to understand that we have to be humble. And we have to step back and say, yes, I wanted people, everyone in the office. There's no gray area. Everyone has to be back. Well, we have to look at it and say, where does it really benefit us to say that a remote virtual environment is actually the best course of action for us and will develop a more vibrant workplace and we'll develop more happy employees. And we have to be able to be open to looking at how does that play out and how do we integrate that in our company. And then at the same time, and I'll end with this, the same time, we have to be able to take that virtual atmosphere and we have to bring it into the in-person environment and develop a cohesive, united, strategic team that all feels like they're part of it. And how are we going to go about doing that? Well, I'm very confident that some of the lessons in the book that I've written, if we take time away to develop that, it will bring that kind of feeling, that kind of culture and environment, whether you're a remote, virtual, or in-person worker, because there's so much to manage as a result of it.